been tested today, and they're gonna really go for another round here right now.
Yeah, it's good. This is when that sort of skill set starts to narrow. You start separating the pros from the amateurs. You might have some amateurs here or there, some players that are not as comfortable in these high-profile environments, but you're still getting more and more competitive, which means it's going to start ramping up. It means it's going to be a lot harder to find success if you were able to do it in round number 1.
That's right, yeah. So the casual players are really going to separate quickly in these races.
Yeah, especially as well, we're also upping the total to 8 races here in this round. We just started from 6 in round number 1. We're going up to 8 in round number 2, so there's a little bit more opportunity for leeway. So if you have a bad race, you can come back in a little bit better ways.
Yes, but we are still going to be carrying 6 players through to the next round, so we are going to be watching to see who those top 6 are going to be.
Yep, we have 12 players, 6 of which are going to be moving on to our quarterfinals matchup, so there is still that sort of opportunity. As we take a look here at the players, we have Flowx, ZekieCat, DeadlyMouse, Greg, Bucket, Pats, Sales, Yasn, Ricky, LeBob, Sloppygunner, and I on the cast or on the game for this free-for-all. And I look at this lineup and I see a bunch of high-profile players. You have Flo, who's a very decorated Mario Kart player, coming over from France. A Momocon regular, but still coming over from France to compete here. You have DeadlyMouse, who's won the Broad Street Blur in March over in Philadelphia. You have Greg, who's also had a lot of success, including getting top 5 in multiple tournaments, including DreamHack, as well as at Saturday Night Speedway. So these are a lot of players who know what they're doing when it comes to this sort of tournament.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see some really great racing.
Start off here on Singapore Speedway, getting a look at Flo, ZekieCat, DeadlyMouse, and Greg, who are going to be our primary focuses on this tournament here. So it's going to be interesting to see how these 4 are able to perform, because again, high-profile players, high-skill players that all know what they're doing here. So racing begins. We already see some of these players going for this sort of snaking strat, a strategy that's common with these sort of combos you see here, the Teddy Bug or the Missy Scooty. That's the best way to build up speed as quick as possible, because you cannot have top speed unless you have more acceleration here with these combinations.
Yeah, so a lot of players are going to be using similar strategies for their players and their carts. You're not going to see a whole lot of variation.
Yes, so we can take a look here at ZekieCat, currently in 2nd place, trailing right behind Ricky there, having the Mr. Scooty. Unfortunately, the Mr. Scooty is supposed to have a smaller hitbox. ZekieCat unfortunately still gets hit by that back spam green, but does hit the bomb there onto Bucket, so he's still going to be able to get some rebound here.
Flowx is up there. What does he have?
Looks like he has a super horn. Going to be trying to use it to take over 2nd place, but it's going to get hit out here. So obviously that's the risk with using some of your items. You want to use your items aggressively, but you don't want to leave yourself wide open. You have, for example, your DeadlyMouse has this Fire Flower. They could try to spam it. They could try to back spam and try to hit people behind them, or they could save it for a rainy day. Wait until a red shell hits them. Wait until they have the opportunity to keep themselves alive. Gets hit by nothing. Gets hit by something there. Unfortunately, just couldn't predict that, but is still trying to keep themselves alive. ZekieCat currently looking at 2nd, but it is like uses the wall dodge there. An interesting strat, if you have a speed boost, you are able to turn your cart into the wall and be able to hit the item into the wall instead of hit your back.
Oh, that's a really good strat to get away from some of those deadly shells.
Especially those red shells that can target you, especially when you have nothing. Greg currently doesn't have any, has triple green shells entering into this final section here. This glider section can make or break your race, especially if you are preferred on a flying. There are 4 different types of speeds depending on which cart you're using, so you can your cart can excel on either ground speed, air speed, water speed, or anti-gravity speed. Right now, Greg trying to make their way up, but it's going to have to back out because ZekieCat has those triple reds right in front of him.
Yep, and the blue shell just came in, but I don't think that's going to have any impact on this race.
Might have a little bit of an impact as Ricky, unfortunately, not able to hit the line. Here's ZekieCat taking the shortcut. The mushroom perfectly used to take 1st place away from Ricky at the end of that race.
I was wrong. Look at that.
Anything can happen in Mario Kart. It all comes down to the last bit. Flo getting last is surprising. Again, I mentioned one of the most decorated players here in this tournament. Last place to start is not a good start for your Grand Prix.
No, but that just shows to show you that anything can happen in these kind of races. We get all of these great players coming in here, and sometimes the luck just doesn't go your way with items and getting hit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we talk about most decorated, even though you are most decorated, you're still in a room full of other professional players who are trying to get as many, if not more, medals than you, so anything can happen. but that means there's the opportunity for the comeback. Flow obviously can choose a track that could be more fitting toward their narrative. They can pick a track that could be better for their playstyle, or pick a track where people in the back get more preference and are able to make their way up to the front more easily, in a term that we typically call item bagging. So we'll see if they're able to do exactly that here in this next race.
And this is why it's also important that this is an 8 race event here instead of the 6 races. Now he has a better chance to come back.
Yeah, especially you get more leeway. One bad finish, you still have a chance. Second bad finish, okay, you got to start showing up sometimes. If that bad finish trend keeps going, however, it can cause problems. As we head over to DK Summit for our second track here. So we'll have to see if this is going to work in a flow. This is a track that can play toward people in the back, but it's also one you really have to have a lot of technical skill on, and you'll see why as we head into the first lap here.
Yeah, there's a lot of shortcuts that can come into play on this track.
Any players from Mario Kart Wii will know exactly what we're talking about. We're going to start to see some strats here. We already see DeadlyMouse going all the way to the back, wanting to already get those powerful items to bring up to the front here, and already stealing Flow's first item.
So ZekieCat coming up front. Got a little bit of protection, that's good.
Yeah, it's always good to have at least some protection when you're here. Now ZekieCat going to explain exactly how we're taking these shortcuts. You can just skip those half pipes and go right to the end of the track. That is a common DK Summit strategy. Very hard to pull off, but obviously these pro players, they're somewhat used to it. They know how to pull off that strat consistently.
Right, so we're going to see that by many of these players, and then the idea is to kind of hit them right before they get to that.
As Greg's going to be hopping before they hit the glider there. It's a little bit of a strategy on some of these cannon gliders where they'll shoot you out faster. It's actually faster to not take a trick there. You want to hop right before the glider, and you'll gain a few extra frames of speed. So it's an interesting strat. One people may not know. ZekieCat unfortunately not going to be able to take the shortcut this turn, as they are going to get hit by the blue shell, trying to sabotage people's chances of taking this cut. Greg going to be able to take it, using the smart steering to get themselves back on track as they take the lead away from ZekieCat. ZekieCat still right on their tail alongside Pat's also in the top 3. Pat's dropping a bomb right off in that corner. Doesn't look like it caught anybody as the final lap begins on DK Summit. All come down to which items to use. Point out for a second there, before that lightning strike hit, ZekieCat actually had a golden mushroom in third. That shows you the sort of item disparity between first and third, the difference in space between first down and second. But UB Sales getting dodged there from that lightning bolt, having the bullet bill bring them all the way up to this final corner, has triple reds as well. Could be a factor for the front as ZekieCat trying to make this cut and misses the first jump. Now has to take the wide corner, and that's going to be detrimental because everyone's going to be able to hit that final corner.
DeadlyMouse is having a good race here.
Yep, going to be able to pass Greg for the lead as well. DeadlyMouse going to take the victory on DK Summit. Greg coming in right behind them. Blue shell for a celebratory hit on the noggin. And a lot of players starting to make their comeback. Flow already making a run back up to 7, so still slowly and steadily moving their way up as this Grand Prix goes on.
Right, so that's what we were saying. You know, one race is bad, but you can come back. So we'll see that continually getting up into the top 6.
And I mean, that is also a very good point. Top 6. You don't have to go for first. You can just play it safe. If you feel you're in a comfortable position for top 6, just play it safe. You don't have to play it risky. You just don't end up in last place every single race, because then you pretty much are guaranteed that top 6 potential. So it's going to be interesting to see how these track selections also go in. Because obviously a lot of players who are struggling in the back want to play tracks that are more favorable to people in the back. Those in the front want to try to pick tracks that are better for people in the front. So it'll be interesting to see where they take their direction here as we head into race number 3, which I'm going to be spoiling our... Never mind, they got the view already. I was going to say I'm going to spoil it before we cut over to it. But it's going to be DS TikTok Clock, which a lot of players have favored this track heavily. Flowx, for example, favors TikTok Clock. There are definitely other people here. Bucket favors TikTok Clock. A lot of these players have this as their favorite track because it's a heavy front runner track.
I've seen this track a lot over the last couple of days. So this must be one that a lot of people are really been playing heavy. So
yeah,
not surprising to see it.
Very much a front-heavy track. Also takes a lot of technical skill, especially from you saw from Flow, taking the clock arm to go right across that center clock. But now Flow trying to get back up, gets drags out Sales to stop him in his tracks, but now is just getting Mario Karted all the way to the back, just not dragging that banana quick enough. Meanwhile, it currently is ZekieCat in 5th, trying to chase up to LeBob and Pat. LeBob obviously coming off of a lot of strong performances. 2nd place at Riptide. 4th place at Riptide in 2023, but is still making a good impression here so far. Looks like ZekieCat's trying to catch up to DeadlyMouse, currently in 2nd, Pat's in 3rd, and then the Red Birdo over in 1st place. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to be able to do exactly that. That's Greg who's the Red Birdo up in 1st place. Has some experience, obviously, on TikTok Clock.
And so we're going to see ZekieCat there in 2nd, looking pretty safe right now with the green shells.
Yeah, has a lot of defense. It could play aggression if they really wanted to, but it's just going to probably play defense. Looking behind him to see where that red shell is, but didn't barely notice that Greg was trying to back up and try to hit ZekieCat with that blue shell. But now ZekieCat comfortably in the lead. Final lap on TikTok Clock. Anything can happen, and that's exactly what happens to ZekieCat. They get hit by the boomerang, and Flo takes the lead.
Well, and Flo gets hit and comes back.
Yep, Ricky with the boomerang, sniping 2 for 2 right now, has 1 throw left on that boomerang. ZekieCat in 2nd with the super horn. Gonna be using it here, gonna be chaining it to try and get a better item selection, and it looks like, nope, never mind. Still, ZekieCat in 2nd, Ricky in the lead. Anything can happen as we approach the final corners. Ricky has a super horn in hand if they want to try to keep everyone away.
There goes a red shell, see what happens there. Ooh, it did hit.
It looks like it did hit Flo, but Greg gonna be backing away, just waiting to use that mushroom, as right now it looks like Flo's gonna take the win away from the top spot, or it might have been.
There we go, yeah. Flo gets first.
Flo gets first, Ricky 2nd, ZekieCat 3rd, Greg getting 4th. We're starting to see the development of these boys. LeBob, again, someone I mentioned, a lot of strong performances, especially over in that sort of Midwest scene. Currently in last place, so not having a good time here in this qualifier.
No, but, again, there's still plenty of races left to go, so we don't have anything set yet. Flo's come back. Now they're solidly into the middle of that pack, so one good race will offset a bad race. So we still got time.
You have time to recover yourself. Just can't make any more of those big mistakes anymore. Same goes for players like LeBob in last place. You can make a comeback. You just need the cards to fall in your favor. But you're on race number 3. If the go button, if the accelerator needs to be pushed, it needs to be pushed right now if you're players like LeBob down in that bottom ranks. As we head over to our 4th race of this Grand Prix set, it's going to be Ribbon Road, which is a sort of interesting track because this one also has some of those interesting shortcuts. Nothing outlandish. These are shortcuts that are incorporated into the track, but they're very difficult to do at a professional level.
Well, and this is where maybe, hopefully, somebody got this that really needed to get some extra points, because this one is not one that I see a ton in selection.
Ribbon Road obviously can be a favorite track to multiple, but as you can see, Flo right now battling it out with Ricky at the top of the board. Which, I mean, we talk about Flo being pretty having a lot of accomplishments. So Ricky obviously trying to put them in their place. Flo trying to snipe them out. Unfortunately misses that green shell snipe, but will hit them with the red shell on the glider, and that's good for Flo to build some distance.
That's really good timing there.
Flo gonna be able to take the lead. Right behind them, I believe, is DeadlyMouse, if I looked correctly. The Tanuki Mario trying to catch up to their bumper here. But it's going to be interesting to see. Flo still taking up that lead. ZekieCat currently in 5th. and Bucket currently right in front of him. And I believe that is Ricky also as well, trying to make their way up with those triple greens. Going to get passed here by ZekieCat, who still has 2 mushrooms to their name.
This little shortcut right here.
Yep, these shortcuts are what I was talking about. So this shortcut typically can be easy, but obviously a lot of these players want to drift so they can build up speed to then release onto that shortcut. So it can be a lot more challenging. And I like what ZekieCat's doing here. Has the mushroom, decides not to take the shortcut. Wants to save that mushroom for a rainy day on the final lap of Ribbon Road.
There are going to be a couple of spots where that will come in handy.
And speaking of spots coming in handy, unfortunately for first, it's not going to come in handy.
There it
Blue
is.
shell and lead. Flo gets hit, and ZekieCat will take that lead away. Right behind him, I believe, is DeadlyMouse with the peach. But we'll have to see. It's actually, no, it's Pats with the peach. Flo currently still trailing in 3rd. Going to be knocking off people with that bomb on that shortcut, and barely makes the glider. Has a mushroom in hand. They want to try to spam this fireball so they can get rid of the shortcut.
Pats.
They get the shortcut and are not going to be taking first, but will still solidify a 2nd place.
That was a nice sequence right there, though.
Very good sequence there for Flo to be able to take that first place away. Right behind him is Greg, or takes 2nd place. At least ZekieCat gets 3rd. Greg gets 3rd. ZekieCat gets 1st. Greg gets 3rd. tripping over my words here, but you get the idea. But the point is that now Flow starting to put themselves in a more comfortable position. Bad start, good finish.
Yep. And so right now, I was just looking. 6th place is right there. There's 3 players who are right there fighting for that 6th place.
So it's going to
So
be
that's really what we need to focus on and see who's going to be that player who makes the cut right there at 6.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see who those players around the 6th place are, because those are going to be probably the focus here. Any place between, I would say, 5th to 8th has a potential of getting into this round right now. So we'll have to see as our next track selection looks like it's going to be Royal Raceway. So another track that has some technical skill. This is a track that you really need to make yourself, that you can excel on at the best potential. And I see what you mean here by some players. I'm pretty sure there is a tie around that middle spots for 2 people with 33 points. So
yes,
anything can happen as we head into the final 2 races with Royal Raceway being our first. Actually, no, never mind. I'm wrong. Final half of this Grand Prix. We're at 8 races, not 6.
Right.
I'm reminding myself of everything I said on the floor.
This is it, though.
Yeah, 4 races with 4 races, 3 after this one. But everyone taking these tight corners, and you're going to start to see some people taking these shortcuts as well. But you already see Flo with the slipstream drafting behind somebody to gain a little bit of a boost, taking that 1st place and taking the Nisk as well to be able to take over it. By the way, Nisk means no item shortcut, so you don't need an item to take it.
And that was good because they did not have a shortcut enhancing item there.
No item to take the shortcut, so they're able to perfect that Nisk. ZekieCat going to the back here, just staying back a little bit. Obviously wants to try to play a little bit more conservative game. Maybe wants to try to use these items to get up to the front, so we'll see if it works in his favor.
Yeah, this definitely has some spots where if you have the right items, you're going to make a lot of ground quickly.
You can see she's just bagging all the way to the back. They're not really focusing on getting like all the way to the front. They're waiting until the perfect opportunity to go to the back, all behind people like DeadlyMouse and Bucket. So they're obviously making it work right now. DeadlyMouse has the ghost in hand, which can make or break somebody else's race here. We'll see if it's going to work for them here. It's a matter of when they're going to be using it here on this track.
Yeah, you got to find that person ahead of you that's got the good item.
Unfortunately, doesn't get any of those good items. Gets a green shell, but that can still help them when they come out of this ghost, especially if someone behind them has a red shell. Final lap here on Royal Raceway. Flo continuing to lead. ZekieCat has not been able to make any progress. Currently back in 7th place here. And Craig, meanwhile, is in 11th, so they're waiting for the perfect opportunity to just get to the front.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've got that item there. They're going to hold on to it. There it is.
Yeah, Bullet Bill comes out here from Greg. ZekieCat starting to get past here by those Bullet Bills. Is able to dodge that red shell, and now the blue shell comes out. Flo might not be ready for it here, and that could very well bunch up the competition as we head into the final item set here on Royal Raceway.
And Flo did get hit, so that gave an opportunity to get caught.
Yeah, that red Yoshi catching up here. ZekieCat trying to catch up all the way back up to 4th place. Is going to be able to seal that 4th place here with the green Yoshi. Meanwhile, Ricky coming all the way down to 11th. Flo still getting 2nd, and that 6th place margin is starting to get a little bit separated. 38th on 5th, 35th for 6th. There you go. You got the picture of it. So right now, DeadlyMouse, Ricky, Pats, and Sloppy, I think, are in the best positions right now, heading into race number 6 to be able to take that spot. Currently a tie for 7th between Sloppy and Pats. So yeah,
Pats and Sloppy at 30 and Ricky at 35. So there is a little bit of separation that did separate our pack a little bit.
Yeah, 5-point separation right now between 6th and 7th. As long as Ricky doesn't start messing up a lot, there's still the chance that they're going to be able to keep that margin at 5 points. But again, anything can happen. It's Mario Kart. I talked about LeBob earlier, was in last place in the standings, already made their way up to 9th.
Yes.
So anything can happen as we keep going through this set.
Looks like ZekieCat, though, is doing well in the lead. Greg at 2nd. 4 points behind Flowx, 4 points behind Greg. So
far a good showing from ZekieCat as we're going to be going to our next track, Berlin Byways, which this is where you're going to be seeing, I mentioned snaking earlier, where people will constantly keep drifting instead of just driving forward. You're going to see a lot of that on this track because this track is so wide. You don't really hit the wall on this track. You can just see how wide it is. You could fit about three buses straight down the middle of Berlin Byways.
We have 6 wide, no problem.
Absolutely, no problem as all as we begin here on Berlin. Again, you're going to already see Flow staking left to right, building up a mini turbo, then going to another one, then going to another one. That's just the law of the land on most of these tracks from Mario Kart Tour because it's such a wide track. Flow currently in second, going to get read out though by ZekieCat early.
Greg in the back.
And Greg
are coming back.
Interestingly, Greg, I think probably just wanting to stay in the back, wanting to build up some items. This is a track that you can benefit from being in the back with. Has a star, triple mushrooms as well, so they can use their items as they chain these appropriately. They can make their way up to the front of the pack.
And Flow just in front, so 2 of our leaders are in the back right now.
Flow actually going across the start line to get more coins, so that's another thing we have yet to mention. The more coins you have, the faster you can be. So if you have 10 coins, that means that's the maximum speed, that's the maximum top speed, and there is a stark difference between people who collect 0 coins and people who have 10. And there's also a stark difference between people who are hit by a lightning bolt and people who aren't, i.e. Greg dodging that lightning bolt and already making their way up to second as they were in the back early.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good strategies that you can run on this game. Knowing how to use your items, knowing when to keep them, it's super important.
Flow making their way up as well. It's Greg, Ricky, Flow of the top 3. Has to waste all of their mushrooms though because they had to pull the boomerang to defend themselves against that red shell. Not the most ideal situation.
See whether or not they can pull a good item. Got some defense, so that's good.
Got some defense. Will it be enough to guard against the fire? Yes, it will. They thread the needle around those fireballs. The final lap here on Berlin, and Greg gets rid of Ricky with a star in first place. This is unreal. Greg putting some top-tier item smuggling, bringing those powerful items from the front to the back, and currently leading here on Berlin Byways. But there is an item in play. The blue shell currently in play. Greg has a mushroom. Do they get the dodge off? Yes, they do! They hit the swamp, though! They're into the curve, trying to keep themselves alive. Second place and third, not fast enough to catch them. Greg will get first. ZekieCat gets second. Flow, I believe, nabs a third place.
Yep, there
but
was
still, the tension.
There was a bullet coming up at the very end, but I don't think it passed.
Yeah, the bullet bill did not pass. I believe that was Yasn there with that. Yeah, Yasn with the bullet bill. But still, you're seeing that competition, and now that gap we mentioned was 5 points last time. It's now 7 points, and it's entirely different people in position right now. It's Ricky and DeadlyMouse currently tied for 5th. That's the benchmark. And then LeBob and Sloppy currently tied for 7th. Again, I talked about LeBob. Struggled early. Now finds himself in prime striking position to take over this position.
Yeah, 7 points is doable with the amount of races we have left.
All it takes is one mess up from any person in this top 5, and LeBob sees themselves into that top 6.
Yeah. I don't even think we have... ZekieCat probably is safe at this point.
Yeah, I'd assume ZekieCat and Greg are probably the safest people as we head over to yet another tour track, and that is Amsterdam Drift. This is another track that can be very technical. It's very hard to come back from the back on Amsterdam.
So we're going to see a different race this time. Not as much bagging to try and get those items, right?
Absolutely not. We might see some people still try to attempt to go to the back, but I think for the most part, you're going to see everyone go for front-running strats. You already see it here. Everyone just hard charging forward. No one stopping in the IJ tunnel. There is no traffic there. Everyone just rushing through and just trying to get to the front of the pack.
So those first couple of item pulls are going to be important as we try and break the pack apart.
Yeah, right now, and also like the first sort of hits. Flow getting hit by a banana there, forced on the wrong side of the fence, and all the way falling back to 9th or 8th place right now. These first few corners can make or break your race. And right now, ZekieCat, it's making theirs because they're just doing perfect item management, making sure they're in the lead, throwing the bomb out to make sure that they can separate themselves from the lead as well. They do not want to be contested.
Right, and I think we had Greg in the back again, so we'll see whether or not he can pull off the same trick that he pulled last race.
Flow
but it'll be much harder.
Flow makes their way back up to 4th. Going to be using those triple bananas right before the item set. And he's going to be stealing some triple greens as well. So has the potential to make or break a move. Goes for the tight corner and now all the way back up to 3rd here as the final lap of Amsterdam commences as we head over this very sharp U-turn.
Okay, so That looks like a pretty solid pack, though. There's not a whole lot of space.
There are some people with power items. You see a bunch of stars, a bullet bill was shown there, and you have a blue shell as well going up for ZekieCat. The question is ZekieCat prepared? Absolutely. Super Horn in hand. Goodbye to the blue shell. ZekieCat now running away with that lead, as it looks like it's going to be a battle for second here. Flo and Ricky battling it out, but Flo hits the pillar, loses the momentum. Ricky trying to race them out. Flo sees an opportunity, gets the red shell right into Ricky, and will steal second place away.
Way to finish that one.
And Ricky, one of those players who needs to finish well in these races because they're on that bubble. That red shell could make or break their tournament right now. They fell all the way back to 8th because of that red shell and are currently right on the edge. That gap that we talked about, it was 7 last race. It's now 3 points between 6th and 7th. DeadlyMouse and Ricky currently on the edge of their seats. They need to perform well in this final race.
Yeah, and Pat's had a good race, and all of a sudden Pat's is back in this. So everybody has a chance still. That's what's so great about this format.
Yeah, the gap right now between 5th and 8th is 6 points. That tells you how close this is going to come down. This can come down to the absolute wire here on these final couple of races, if not our final race here.
Oh yeah, I mean this is what makes it so exciting.
This is why Mario Kart can be an exciting sport. They're like, oh, Mario Kart? What's the big deal about that? This is what the big deal is about it. It is all on the line here. Anything can happen, and we're heading to Waluigi Stadium, another track where the technical skill has to be big, and it's our final race. It's do or die for all of these players from 5th to 8th.
This is a great course to end on, too. This is so much fun to watch. A lot of technical. You've got to make sure you get your right lines or you're in trouble.
Yeah, those lines matter so much. As we see our 4 players that we've been focusing on, DeadlyMouse is the one you have to watch of these 4, as they are currently on the bubble. They need a finish to get themselves in. They need a good finish to get into that top 6, and right now they're deciding to go to the back. They don't want to risk being in that front. They want to go from the back to the front instead of risking going for it. They're even stopping to go get coins. They're stopping to pick up loose change on the highway while they're trying to make their way to the front.
Well, like you said, those coins are so important. Having 8 right now, you still got to get a couple more so they can get that speed boost.
Still currently sitting in 11th here. Their competition right now is going to be difficult. Their competition right now is all the peaches on screen. So take note of every peach on this screen. Pats and Sloppy, the only other 2 peaches, those are who DeadlyMouse is chasing right now. It's going to be stealing the triple mushrooms here with that ghost, so they have the opportunity to really make a lot of speed here on the second lap. Going to be using the star, taking this mud cut, going all the way across, using the triple mushrooms as well. They'll hit one of their adversaries there as they went through. I believe they hit Pats with the star.
Ooh,
Pat's already falling back. It's not good for Pat. They need a good finish. And right in front of him is Ricky, another player who needs a good finish. Force user starting to keep alive from this fire flower.
4-5 right here. Oh,
3 and 4 for Ricky, but Ricky getting hit right before the shortcut. DeadlyMouse maybe knocking them into the pit. Final lap on Waluigi Stadium. It all comes down to this.
Ooh, there were a lot of bananas right there. They just barely missed all of those bananas. That was a nice driving by Mouse.
Greg, meanwhile, in 4th, trying to catch back up. He's pretty much already guaranteed a slot. He's currently 2nd in the standing, but still wants to get more points to get a better seating. Doesn't want to be with the roughest of the rough as they head into the next round. Taking this cut, going through that anti-gravity, getting more speed as they go across that jump. DeadlyMouse in 3rd. They just need to play safe. They use the super horn to get rid of ZekieCat and are able to backspam the red to keep themselves in. DeadlyMouse all but guaranteeing themselves a spot into the quarterfinals with a second place effort on Waluigi Stadium.
Way to come back, and that is what it's all about. So let's see where everybody else ends up here.
It's going to come up to where Ricky and Pat's fish. Ricky gets 52 points, and by 2 points they are locked in. It's going to be ZekieCat, Greg, Flowx, Sales, DeadlyMouse, and Ricky, who are moving on to the quarterfinals here in the Momocon 2025 free-for-all tournament.
That was some great racing. Really exciting. I love the way that they kept it all close. That was fun.
Yeah, especially a great job from the competitors who unfortunately didn't make it. Still bringing it close. Again, 2 points. 2 points, and we don't see this top 6 make it on to the finals. So
right.
That shows you the level of skill between all of these players that just competed in this.
Yeah, I mean, Pats, Sloppy, AI, Yasn, LeBob, Bucket, all had good races too. That's what's really fun. They're not you know, there's nothing wrong with how they raced.
Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong. They did as best as they could. They did, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. But you know what? You made it. You made it to the top 96. It's like I told one of my friends. You beat 96 other people. That's something to be accomplished about. So,
yeah, I mean, this is a huge tournament.
yeah, this is a big tournament. 192 applicants. People coming from all over the world to compete here. Like the amount of skill is immeasurable. So the fact that you made it to this point at all shows your true skill. But
yeah, this is great competition. So I look forward to seeing the next round of the quarterfinals, who are going to be up in just a few minutes.
yeah, we'll be heading over to our next round of 96 here in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the rest of the Momocon Mario Kart 8 Deluxe free-for-all tournament right after this.